I just want to say that I think it's important to take note of how effective and successful these initiatives have been. As I was saying earlier, it's good to take some pause and just analyze the situation that, as you correctly said, the academic boycott is now becoming much more of an issue inside of Israel. And the complicity of Israeli universities in the Israeli occupation, and specifically also in Israel's many wars, is incredible and does, I think, open, and I'm saying this as an observer, open a new area of really targeted work. And just in terms of, I think the first step is to demonstrate this, moving away from the corporate model, but maybe this is perhaps another book to be discussed in the future. But I was personally shocked as someone that's investigating this conflict all the time at the level of cooperation that exists between the security establishment and the academic institutions. It's absolutely beyond imagination that these policies of disproportionate force and things like this are just crafted inside the halls of Israeli academia. And I studied at the Hebrew University, which is it's just wild to think about. And yeah, I'll just leave it at that. So.
In terms of the academic boycott, I work with the Palestinian Academic and Cultural Boycott Initiative, and I think one thing we have aimed to do was to place the guidelines for the academic boycott on the website and continuously refine them with all of the examples that are coming up. And I think right now we have a very good guide about what the academic boycott would be, and we keep reiterating that it's an institutional boycott, not an individual boycott. And of course, people like to confuse this all the time, even though we reiterate it so often. In architecture specifically, it's a very interesting case because what architecture means in the Palestinian, just in terms of Palestine generally, the geography. We were commenting when we were in South Africa about how ugly the scene has become because of the conflict, because of the way Israel manages the landscape, and not just the apartheid wall, but everything. To divide such a small territory in that way, it's truly disgusting, and it shows that they have no value for the actual land. And I often say, you see the Palestinians, how much they love the land, the way they hug the trees when they're being uprooted. Only someone that doesn't love the land can actually do that, uproot olive trees that are that old. Sorry to sidetrack, but to go back on the architecture, the specific one that's coming up, I think the best way is to work in collectives with academics here and to work in collaboration with faculty from Palestine. In terms of Palestinian universities, all of them have unequivocally said they are for the academic boycott and that they're supporting it. They're not for these collaboration projects where they get some access, but what it means is that they're normalizing with Israeli universities. And that has been unequivocal, signed by all Palestinian universities. And I'd be happy to speak to you afterwards about the specifics of the case.
I just want to make a point actually about not the academic, but the cultural boycott. If there's any doubt in your head that you should, the cultural boycott should be implemented, a new bill has been put forward to the Knesset called the new cinema bill. And the bill states, so the bill would regulate and condition that any state funds would be given to filmmakers only after they have signed a loyalty declaration to Israel and its institutions as a Jewish state. So if this, I think a cultural boycott, should be implemented anyway. But if this bill passes, that's our best tool really to say that a cultural boycott, it's a black and white thing really after a bill like that.
Jump in again. Yeah, like I said, I'm not bringing these technical details, which are incredibly important, but I just want to talk a little bit about the climate that, since we're moving to the cultural boycott, the climate that the cultural boycott kind of engenders inside of Tel Aviv kind of society from my own experience. And so a lot of the colleagues that I have on 972, this website that we started as a kind of blog-based magazine, refuse effectively to support the boycott, which begs a lot of questions. And I think these questions very much get to the heart of the ability of the Israeli left or of Israeli society in general to actually, stop any of these crimes from happening, right? So, unfortunately, we no longer have this debate because of the boycott law, because we can't risk having anyone like myself write positively about the boycott because the site would be shut down. But ultimately, you have a number of people that support kind of Palestinian, they're active in Palestinian solidarity movements. They often go to Bilin and these kinds of villages, active in the joint struggle. And then when you get to this issue of boycott, there's a wall that's thrown up. I think that primarily the reason here is that the boycott is a Palestinian movement and it's run by Palestinians. And this is something that in Israel, even in many segments of the Israeli left societies, they're just not ready or able to deal with that initiative. And so oftentimes when I was hearing these questions about how to do this, how to do that, I mean, ask Palestinians, ask PACB and ask the BNC and all this kind of stuff, and they're very approachable, and you can, take your directives from Palestinians, because that's perhaps what's so important in this movement. If we can just think of it, kind of theoretically, that Palestinians are, despite this situation of fragmentation and occupation, very much controlling their destiny in this absolutely incredibly beautiful, nonviolent way, in a situation that's typified by so much violence. And I also think, ultimately that this is what kind of drives Israelis insane, and the fact that the bottom line is that, artists don't come to Israel anymore. I mean, Israeli society, and I absolutely understand their reasonings, wants to be considered normal. It wants to be considered a normal Western country. This is what helps the cognitive dissonance that perpetuates the occupation to function, is normality. And the boycott absolutely pinpoints that issue of normality and says, no, I'm sorry, you're not a normal society. You have to be held accountable for the transgressions that you are committing on a regular basis, even if you're not directly committing them. You are part of a society that's doing that, and ultimately it's absolutely effective. That's just the proof is in the pudding. The laws that are being passed now demonstrate without a doubt the effectivity of the boycott movement.
Thank you very much, Joseph.
Sorry, just want to talk again.
Half a minute.
Yeah, for sure. But I think really, I guess the audience is mainly pro-justice and therefore pro-Palestinian. But I think that it's important to remember who clearly boycott who. Israel doesn't call for a civil society for boycott. They bomb universities. They closed every university for 4 or 5 years during the second Intifada. So that's a real boycott. So for people that still think, we shouldn't boycott them, discussion, talks are important, just stop your internal conversation and boycott them.
It's quite late, but as I said at the beginning, we're really, really doubly fortunate. We don't just have speakers here on the platform, but Rafeef, as you know,